World Incontinence Week, and so I would like on my channel to promote as much healthy bladder and bowel and pelvic health. So each day I'm going to be posting a video based on a different aspect to hopefully help draw your attention to issues that may exist and how you can help them, or maybe bring awareness to things that you don't realize were an issue and actually there is help that you can seek for it. So today we are going to be talking about pelvic organ prolapse, also known as POP, which is probably not the most convenient name, but POP. Okay, so pelvic organ prolapse and its symptoms, what's its causes, and what you can do to help yourself. So starting off with what it actually is and what it feels like. So how do you know if you have this? So the pelvic organ prolapse, or often referred to as prolapse, is defined as an autonomic change within the pelvic organ, which may be the bladder, bowel, or the rectum or uterus, moves into the actual vagina, causing symptoms such as something coming down, feeling heaviness, feeling a bulge, be it either inside or feeling like it's on the outside, so you can actually see it. And this can also have an effect on your bladder, bowel, or sexual symptoms as well. So the pelvic organs, the bladder, the vagina, the uterus, and the rectum are held together, what's known as the pelvic floor muscles, the bones, and the ligaments in that area, and that's what we refer to as the pelvic floor region. These muscles help control and prevent the incontinence and give you that support. The prolapse can be mild, very little, and therefore doesn't really bother you. Other times it could really affect your quality of life. And the different times, different activities can give you different symptoms. Some days it might not bother you at all, and other days it may feel like the symptoms are really quite distinct. There are a few different types of prolapse depending on what part of the pelvic floor, what organs have been affected. So when the front vaginal wall has the prolapse, this could be known as cystocele. This is when the bladder symptoms can be difficulty emptying. When you open your bladder, it can be urgency, it can be frequency, so you're going quite often to the toilet. It can be incontinence as well. And sometimes it can be difficulty actually going to the toilet. You can have a back vaginal prolapse. This is known as a rectocele. This could be more of difficulty with opening your bowels, having leakage of bowel or wind. It could be having also sudden urgency of opening bowels, so not getting much warning that you need to open. And sometimes needing to kind of use your fingers to help you assist, so it feels like it's not opening enough, or there's kind of some sort of catching. There's uterine prolapse, there's vaginal vault prolapse, and these are slightly more rare and related to having surgery. General symptoms again happen to be feeling like a heaviness down, feeling a bulge, feeling like everything's a lot looser and wider. So a lot of people kind of mention that they can't no longer use a tampon, say after they've had a baby, and this is because of the shift and that uncomfortable. Some people's symptoms are more related to their sexual health, so they can have obstruction. So they feel like that the vaginal intercourse is not possible because there's kind of something in the way that feels like it's blocking them. It can be discomfort or pain on intercourse, and there can be anxiety around whether the prolapse is kind of safe to have sex if you have a prolapse as well. So there can be quite a lot of anxiety issues around that as well. You can have pain symptoms such as backache, abdominal discomfort, vaginal pain, but they're not normally the main symptoms in these cases. Symptoms can be worse at the end of the day, or if you've been standing for a while, or they can be due to increased internal abdominal pressure. So this goes back to when we're thinking about when we're doing certain exercises, whether it's too heavy for what we should be doing, if you have a chronic cough, if you are straining, be it because you're lifting weight, be it because you're not opening your bowels comfortably. So that's also aspects to be aware of. Now, what are the causes of it? Well, there are a few. So one of the main ones for most of you will be the pregnancy and the childbirth. So this can be common for those that have had vaginal births, where the baby's head and weight has been pushing down on the pelvic floor, and pelvic organs have been pushing down as the body has changed, as the hormones change, as the pelvis opens, it's taken that strain. It can be because of having a episiotomy as well, or having a tear, or having intervention such as forceps. So you've got that kind of element of stress in that area. And that's why, you know, we recommend doing the pelvic floor exercises during childbirth, during pregnancy, to kind of help prevent some of those, hopefully. The other aspect is obesity and overweight. So similarly, if you were carrying a baby, if you were carrying extra weight, you would be putting that extra weight down in the pelvic and pelvis region. It could be from heavy lifting and straining. So this can be either from an occupation, like having to constantly lift heavy objects, or it can be from repeatedly heavy lifting, which is beyond your own limit, be it from, say, exercise or around the house, and your body no longer feels that it's able to kind of take that strain consistently. There is a strong history of pelvic organ prolapse in family, can increase the chances of developing it, although there's quite a weak link to that. Age, as you get older, it can be seen that the changes in the muscle strength and the muscle fibers can increase your likelihood to get a prolapse. So increasingly important to continue doing the pelvic floor exercises as we get older. And then coming on to the next point of menopausal changes. Some hormones can change how our pelvic floor sits, and therefore lower levels of vaginal estrogen can affect and cause the prolapse as well. Constipation, massive one. If you're not emptying correctly, you're going to have your bowels pushing forward, your bladder therefore gets and your pelvic organs get more compressed at the front. You're putting that pressure, and therefore the constipation is then pushing onto the organs, therefore causing the prolapse at the front. So preventing constipation is a big help there. Chronic cough, we mentioned that briefly before. If you've had a prolonged cough, be it because you've had just a really nasty cough, cold, infection, or whether you actually have a respiratory condition which gives you a cough, and you've had on a daily basis and you've had for years and years, that can increase your risk of having a prolapse as well, and previous history of in the pelvic area. So what can you do? So a few hints already from what causes it, if we can change some of those. So keeping an eye on our weight, doing our pelvic floor exercises when we're pregnant, keeping going with those and maintaining that as we get older, as our menopause, as we go through menopause, having a good diet from the constipation, trying to find ways of clearing our chest and minimizing our cough and coughing more effectively, and post-surgery making sure that we are upping our game with our pelvic floor. So that's going to help in that sense. So how do we make our bowels better? So in terms of constipation, first of all, so a really good way of doing this is what's known as sitting properly on the toilet. So when you are on the toilet, you want to have a little footstool and you want to have it underneath your feet, that your knees are higher. It gives a nice tilt to your pelvis. So one of those little toddler IKEA footstools that you have for the kids to brush their teeth, pop that next to the toilet. So when you sit down, you pop your feet on there and then you open your bowels. And don't rush, take your time. Easy to say if you've got a kid knocking on your door. But it's just, I'm in the bathroom, this is my time, I need to not rush. So when you think you're finished, spend an extra couple of minutes to make sure you're definitely finished. Okay, try to relax on the toilet, try not to strain, not to tense. If it's not coming out, go have a walk, jog on the spot, have some water, and then try again later. Don't sit there and strain to get it out. In terms of bladder, again, not rushing to go to the toilet. If you're getting symptoms that you need to go to the toilet, don't ignore them and go, I'll go in 5 minutes, I'll go in 5 minutes. Go, empty, release, relax, and then carry on. So don't deliberately hold your wee in just to say, oh, well, I'll just see if my bladder's like strong enough to kind of hold it for another half an hour. No, you've got your symptoms, your sensations that you need to go. Having sex with a prolapse is safe. It doesn't damage, it doesn't change the bulge at all, but it has to be obviously something that you feel comfortable in. So work on the anxiety, work on the positions, and just try to use as much lubrication as you can. This will just help make it more comfortable, less friction, and more pleasurable in that sense. And with weight, as we said, trying to get active. Now that's a tricky one, because you can kind of want to get active to lose weight, but you can't use necessarily heavy weights, because that can also cause prolapse. So it can get a bit confusing. So it's not just easy as go exercise. So I would say definitely recommend finding someone who is a pre-postnatal specialist, a women's health physio with experience, working with women after childbirth, or if you've had surgery, who've, you know, are aware of the surgeries, to help kind of give you some guidance in those early stages. I've got plenty of videos on my YouTube channel which can help you as well, and feel free to pop me a message and we can discuss that a little bit more. So in terms of decreasing that kind of internal pressure that we mentioned was another cause. So not straining, not overlifting, not heavy lifting. So if you're thinking about a child in a car seat or a child on the mat and you're changing mat, playing on the floor, make sure you're going down at the same level. Don't lean over, don't hover over and then bend and kind of stand up. Bend your knees, get on the floor, bring the weight closer to you, and then squat and lift up with it. You're going to bring that all with you. If you're kind of going down and you're straining to come back up, it's going to be a big hoiking movement, which is going to add a lot of internal pressure. And same with the coughing. If you know that you get phlegm and that's a reason why you cough, or you get a dry mouth, keep hydrated. If the phlegm's too hard to get rid of, talk to your GP, get some medication which will make it thinner and looser. Hydration is a big one. Hydration for constipation, hydration for coughing, hydration for generally keeping healthy and with your weight. Yeah, water. Definitely key for quite a few of these things here. And then finally finishing off with how you can help yourself really in terms of improving the prolapse. So it's great knowing what causes it, and what kind of things you can do to prevent it getting worse, or to prevent getting it in the first place. But the third one really is, how do you manage it in terms of trying to improve it? So this is where we come back to the beginning of the pelvic floor. Learning how to do the pelvic floor correctly, doing it efficiently, spending time focusing on it is going to be your best friend. And if you're not sure where to start, get in touch with a women's health physio. We will talk you through it. There's virtual appointments, there's face-to-face appointments, you can have internal examination and have appointments, whatever. It doesn't all have to happen in your first appointment. It doesn't all have to happen in person. It could just be a conversation where we just kind of get to know what your symptoms are and find out what we can help you with at that present time, and kind of build up from there, because it can be scary, it can be totally devastating, you know, let's just be frank about it. It's not a pleasant experience to have. 1 in 3 women have incontinence. 50% of them don't know how to do their pelvic floor correctly, and we are here to help you with that and see that change in your quality of life. There are other things apart from the pelvic floor, like going for surgery or having things like pessaries, actual objects, equipment that you can put in to give you support. But my first one is always conservative management, which is getting back to basics. Learn your neck, learn your pelvic floor, get some help, and if that doesn't help, then escalate to more invasive intervention. Hope that was helpful, and I will see you on the next video soon.